Welcome to Unit 3. I just gotta know. We'll be looking at the Greek and Latin roots mem, ology, and psi. So first let's take a look at these. We have mem. Mem is a Latin root. It means mindful. It can also mean recall. Take a moment at the top of your page and highlight the root mem. Ology is a Greek root and it means study. Take a moment at the top of your page and highlight the root ology. And finally, psi. Psi is Latin and it means to know. Highlight the root psi at the top of your page. Again, take a moment and make sure that you've highlighted mem, ology, and psi at the top of your page. The first word is memoir. This comes to us from French, so sometimes you'll hear it's pronounced memoir by someone who's French speaking. In English, we tend to pronounce the R, so we'll say memoir. Take a moment and highlight mem. A memoir is a noun, a written account in which someone describes past experiences. So here we have an image of somebody, they've written the word travels with their pen, and if this is an account written by somebody to describe their experiences, the person is probably going to be writing some of their memories about some trips that they may have taken. You'll see there is a map and a pin, a device called a sextant, and then also a compass. So the person is probably remembering a place that they've traveled to, maybe someplace in the Middle East. I see Saudi Arabia, the Arabian Peninsula over there in the corner. The explorer's memoir contained fascinating information about his discoveries, as well as his personal daily activities. So the explorer is writing a memoir, an account about his or her experiences, that has information about the discoveries that were made on that trip, and then any activities. It's almost kind of like a diary, although a memoir can be as long as a book. Take a moment here and highlight mem, the root mem, in the sentence memoir. Again, make sure you've highlighted the root mem both in the word memoir and then the word memoir in the sentence. Memorialize. Memorialize. Highlight the root mem in the word memorialize. Memorialize is a verb. It means to do or create something that causes people to remember an important person, an important thing, or an important event. The noun version would be a memorial. Like a lot of monuments can be memorials to things, a place or an object that helps us to remember a person or an event or something that's happened. Here you have an image of a famous memorial, the memorial at Mount Rushmore. This is a memorial to President Washington, President Jefferson, President Theodore Roosevelt, and President Abraham Lincoln. It is a little controversial, though. Some people, especially native tribes in the Dakotas, were very upset that this memorial was created. It wasn't made by the government to memorialize these four men. It was made by a man named Gutzon Borglum, who wanted to create this stone carving out of the side of some mountains in the Dakotas. And so he used dynamite and chisels and ropes, and he had a whole team of workers that helped to build this and carve it out of the stone. But the stone was in mountains that were historically land that belonged to some Native American tribes. And to them, they did not think that this was a good way to memorialize these people by carving into their sacred land. Mount Rushmore memorializes 4 of the greatest U.S. presidents. Take a moment and highlight the root mem in memorializes in the sentence. Again, take a moment and make sure that you've highlighted the root mem, both in the word memorialize on the side and also in memorializes in the sentence. Memorable. Memorable. Highlight the root mem in memorable. Memorable is an adjective. It means very good or interesting and worth remembering. Here you have a woman and she is having a memory, right? This kind of fuzzy edged memory of traveling to New York City. We see the Brooklyn Bridge and the scape of New York City, as well as the Statue of Liberty. Now, in real life, if you travel to New York City, you will not see the Statue of Liberty right next to the Brooklyn Bridge. That's not what it really looks like. But those are the things that she remembers, right? That she remembers from her trip. And so she finds them memorable, worth remembering. My first time visiting New York City was the most memorable trip of my life. Take a moment and highlight the root mem in the word memorable in the sentence. Memento. Memento. Not momento, but memento. Memento. Highlight the root mem in memento. Memento is a noun. A memento is an object that is a reminder of a person. It can also remind us of a place or an event. Sometimes mementos can be considered souvenirs, an object that you might get at a particular place that you visited. Here we have a photograph of some mementos for somebody in the United States that loves baseball. It looks like an old baseball and old-fashioned wooden baseball bat, a ticket stub to a game, an old leather baseball glove with a used baseball in it. So these objects are reminders for somebody about a place they went to, maybe a particular baseball game. Maybe the baseball bat or the glove belonged to somebody famous that played baseball. Maybe the ticket was to an important game, an event that the person attended. I kept the ticket stub to the first baseball game I ever went to as a memento to always remind me of the fun time I had. Right? So it turns out the person has kept this item, the ticket stub, as a way to remember the trip that they took on this first baseball game. Highlight the root mem in the word memento in the sentence. Geology. Highlight the root ology in geology. Geology is a noun. It's the scientific study of the history of Earth, our planet, especially as recorded by rocks. Geo is another root that we'll learn about, and that has to do with earth and rocks. Here we have a picture of a man who looks like he may be an archaeologist, and he has a special kind of hammer that is used for picking away at stone and soil to do it gently so that they can carefully study what they find. You see he's got his backpack, probably with other supplies. Geology has determined that the approximate age of Earth is 4.54 billion years old. So the scientific study of the history of the Earth, usually through looking at rocks and rock layers and the things that are inside the rocks, has helped us to determine how old our planet may be. Take a moment and highlight ology in the word geology in the sentence. Anthropology. Anthropology is a noun. It's the study of human races, human origins, human societies, and human cultures. Highlight the root ology in anthropology. Here's someone who may be learning to become an anthropologist. I remember taking anthropology classes when I was in university, And we didn't get to examine bones like this in those classes. You'd have to be studying for a higher degree, like a PhD in anthropology, to be able to do that. But you see someone analyzing or closely looking at this human skull. Because I'm very interested in learning about humans and different cultures, I will major in anthropology when I go to college. So if you are interested in learning about ancient man and ancient civilizations, ancient cultures, then that may be something you'd like to do. Take a moment and highlight the root ology in the word anthropology in the sentence. Etymology. Etymology. Highlight the root ology in etymology. Etymology is a noun. It's the study of the origin of words and the study of the way in which the meanings of words have changed throughout history. Here you have a picture that shows a close-up of something called the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone had writing on it in Greek and Egyptian hieroglyphics and a third language. And two of those three languages archaeologists and historians could read. But up until the late 1800s, nobody could read Egyptian hieroglyphics. But when the Rosetta Stone was discovered, because it said the same thing in two languages, through the use of etymology, archaeologists and historians were able to translate the hieroglyphics and figure out what they meant. One example of etymology is the study of Greek and Latin roots. Take a moment and highlight the root ology in etymology. Science. Highlight the root psi in science. Even though there's a C, we don't pronounce the C. We say science, not science, just science. Science is a noun. It's the study of the natural world based on facts, learned through experiments and observations. And in science class, you probably do a lot of these things, making observations and doing experiments in class. Here you see some students, and they're probably learning about biology, right? The science that helps us to study life, particularly human life, but animal life as well. And they're working with the model of DNA, the helix model of DNA. My favorite subject in school is science, because I love learning about the world around us. Take a moment and highlight the root psi in the word science in the sentence. Make sure you've highlighted the root both in the word on the side and the word that's in the sentence. Conscience. Now, this is an interesting word. In all of the other ones that have psi, we've been saying psi for that root. But in this word, we pronounce the SCI a little differently. We say conscience, a sh sound. Sometimes the letters SCI in English can make the sh sound. So here we say conscience, conscience, not conscience. We say conscience. The conscience is a noun, the part of the mind that tells you certain actions are right or wrong. So your conscience is what helps you to notice whether you're doing something that's right or something you shouldn't be doing. It can sometimes be a little reminder when we make poor choices. You have an image of a person who is considering some kind of decision or situation. On one side, the little angel that will tell the person to do the right thing. And then the devil that will make a suggestion to do something that maybe is a bit more naughty or inappropriate. Even though I didn't want to fail the test, my conscience just wouldn't allow me to cheat. So the person is having a bit of a problem. They don't want to do badly on the test, but maybe they didn't understand the material very well, or maybe they didn't study quite enough, and so they're feeling a little bit tempted to cheat, to do something they shouldn't be doing on the test, to get an unfair advantage. But the person's conscience kicks in, and the person's conscience says, you know what action is right, and you know what action is wrong. You should not cheat on the test. Take a moment and highlight the root psi in conscience. Conscientious. Here's another one that works the same way. It's not conscientious, it's conscientious. Conscientious. Try saying that one. We've got conscientious and conscience. Highlight the root psi in conscientious. Conscientious. Conscientious is an adjective. It means very careful about doing what you're supposed to do. Concerned with doing something correctly. I know some of you are very conscientious. Here we have a student who's very conscientious, doing their work in a very conscientious way, studying and taking notes and reading and preparing, being very careful about what he or she is doing, and very concerned with doing things in the correct way. Tim is a very conscientious student who works hard and takes pride in his work. So Tim wants to do careful work, and Tim wants to feel good about the work that he does. So Tim is very conscientious. Highlight the root psi in conscientious.